Marcus starts us off. £6 million to leave St James's Park, the golden boot for Andy Cole, but what kind of a bargain for Manchester United? We'll discuss. This kind of skill was never fully appreciated at Old Trafford, so Michael Knighton moved on to Carlisle, and we'll examine the change of fortune that's brought to Brunton Park. Amid all these moves, Tony COTTEE has returned to his roots, one league goal short of his 100. Well, so far it's been a season of speculation concerning big money transfers, so many rumours, so many false alarms, which makes the secrecy that surrounded Andy Cole's move from Newcastle to Manchester United as astonishing as the deal itself. So a new benchmark has been set in British football. This is what you get for £6 million.
Foot. Oh, superb!
£6 million plus the £1 million rated Keith Gillespie, the biggest deal in British transfer history. Cole, the hero of St James's Park, now at Old Trafford.
To be honest with you, I think I've been thinking about him for a long time, but I never got encouragement. I never thought we could ever get him, and it's a pleasant surprise that we got the opportunity.
A big shock. I think it's a shock to you boys as well, because no one thought that Kevin Keegan was only like arch rivals Man United, but I'm looking forward to it.
Andy Cole's last game for Newcastle, not one of his best, the drawn cup tie with Blackburn. He'll certainly be missed, but this is how the sale is justified to the Newcastle fans.
Had we used the money from the sale of Andy Cole just to go to the bank and say, there you are, they could have lynched us and they would have had justifiable reasons for so doing. But I can tell them all, in a sense, and they know this, we've gone and explained it to them, that the days of selling Beardsley, Waddle, and any player to do that have gone. We will reinvest in the squad, and that's what we're going to do. I can say to those fans that, in the sense that, for instance, there was one chap on television, I'm told, he had his 3-year-old son in his arms facing the TV presenter and saying, he's devastated, and 3 years of age. All I would say to fans, to our fans, that what I would like to ensure is that when that child grows up, Newcastle United are still a successful team. In a sense, we've had the 20 years of success. We've won the Premier League many times and the European Championship many times. And we're recognised as an institution. And to do that, you have to put your foundation right. Now, we've come from nothingness, as I've said. The First Division is nothingness. There's no money down there. Yet the sale have the same costs. And I've got a lot of sympathy for them down there. You get it in the Premier League and you get the TV deals and the kudos is there. And I want to take Newcastle United through and we will challenge and we will give Man United, Liverpool and the rest of them a run for the money. Make no bones about that. We are very, very ambitious. But that ambition has to be based upon solid foundation, or else we'll be a one-season success and we'll die. I don't want to do that.
No, message to fans this week is everything they've said, whether it be real harsh criticism or support, has been accepted. I think they've got every right to have an opinion. It's their club, but only one person really can make the football decisions. And I've made that decision. There's two ways it can go from here. If I get it wrong, well, I know what the consequences are. And if we can turn the club and keep going upwards, then we're bound to win something, because we finished third last year. And it's not a gamble from my point of view, it's really strategy. I'm looking to improve the club. And I think £6 million and Keith Gillespie was an offer we couldn't refuse, bearing in mind where we need to go.
3 points on Sunday would be the perfect start.
It'd be lovely, and then knock Blackburn out of the cup, and then we'll see you next week.
Well, Andy Cole won't be in the Manchester United squad for the visit to Newcastle tomorrow. Sensitivities take rather longer to heal than that. But the deal may initiate a whole new spending round. Arsenal spent £4 million yesterday on the strikers Chris Kiwomya from Ipswich and John Hartson from Luton. And while that deal was going ahead, an emotional Paul Merson was facing his first press conference after his time with an addiction clinic. And he's emerged with some very definite goals for the immediate future.
Wife expects a baby in 6 weeks, so that's going to take up a lot of time. And then, as I've got to go to Alcoholics Anonymous and Gamblers Anonymous, and that's where my life is now. You know, it's no more in pubs. That's where my life is. And if I don't go and get my medicine, I'll never get better.
I will read first the joint...
He's certainly got a battle ahead of him, and another goal is to pick up the threads of his playing career and reach the heights once again with Arsenal and maybe England.
So get back in the Arsenal team first of all, and then to go higher to play for England again. And that's not out of the question, I believe.
In the meantime, 2 more strikers have arrived at Highbury as Arsenal spent £4 million yesterday, twice as much as the whole of last year, in bringing Hartson from Luton and Kiwomya from Ipswich.
In the first team squad.
Kiwomya's in there and John Walk jumping here. Oh, what a scramble. And off the line. And in, yes. I think it's Kiwomya.
How difficult was it for you to leave Ipswich?
It was difficult because, like I say, I've got a lot of friends there, you know. But I've been on a week-to-week since the beginning of the season, and I just felt like, you know, this is like my 9th year at Ipswich Town. I felt like the right time had come along, you know, for me to maybe say, yeah, well, I need like a kickstart, you know, and I don't think I could have got any bigger than Arsenal, really.
Hartson running free, and Hooper's committed here, and he's knocked it past him, and he's scored!
Oh, it's going to be a big challenge for me, you know. I don't know, like people are asking me already, what are you going to do and, you know, what are you going to do for the club, but I just don't know, you know. All I can do is my best, and, you know, the manager has shown a bit of faith in me. He's paid a lot of money for me, so I'll just train hard and try and work at my game, and just hopefully I can become a success here.
We have been a bit below par in numbers since the beginning of the season, but I had hoped to buy a few big name players, the big signings, but it just hasn't materialised for one reason or another. But I can assure you, if big names still come along, the chequebook will be back out again, and I'll lose this reputation of being tight.
Thoroughly undeserved reputation. Let's get the neutral view on everything that's happened in the last few days, or as neutral as we can get. Alan Hansen joins us now from our Liverpool studio. First of all, events at Arsenal, Alan. Kiwomya and Hartson, are they the kind of signings to take the pressure off George Graham?
Well, it was evident that George needed new blood. I think both players have got a massive job to do, because Arsenal supporters, the expectancy there is tremendous. I'm not so sure about Kiwomya. He caused Premiership defences lots of trouble last season. He's very quick. I think in the modern day that you need a big, strong man up front. And I'm quite surprised that George didn't break the bank and go for Les Ferdinand at QPR.
Yeah, but it's St James's Park that's provided the headlines this week. Now, if you were in charge at Newcastle and an offer like the one that came from United for Andy Cole came along to you, what would have been your reaction?
Well, certainly it's a lot of money, and I think everybody's got their price. Newcastle supporters will be a bit disenchanted because certainly Cole scored a lot of goals for them. I think Cole scored goals anywhere. But as far as Newcastle supporters are concerned, I think they should realise where Newcastle were before Keegan and McDermott arrived, and that was mediocrity and virtual obscurity. And Keegan and McDermott have taken up to the sort of higher echelons of the Premiership, and they've played a lot of attractive, exciting football. Certainly, from my point of view, the next 2 games for Newcastle are massive games. They play Manchester United at home in the Premiership, and then they've got the cup tie against Blackburn. If they were to win both games, then I'm sure everything would be forgotten about. But if they get beaten in both games and they don't score any goals, then the supporters will be looking to Kevin Keegan to replace Andy Cole very, very quickly.
But as it stands at the moment, an offer that couldn't be refused. But how much of a gamble for Alex Ferguson, and how much of a surprise to you?
Well, certainly, as I said before, Andy Cole will score goals for any team at any time. But the way United have got their success over the past 3 or 4 seasons, they have defended deep and they've hit in the break. Now when you use that system, I've said many times before, the front man, he's isolated up there, he's got to be strong, he's got to be able to get a hold of it and bring people in. And Mark Hughes has been an integral part of that success. You can talk about your Cantonas and your Inces and the two central defenders and the goalkeeper over the last 3 or 4 years, but for me the best player has been Mark Hughes. Now, that is not Andy Cole's strength. Andy Cole's great strength is play the ball in front of him, he'll get onto it quick, and he'll put the ball in the back of the net for you.
So how will United have to adapt to incorporate Andy Cole, and indeed how swiftly could they adapt?
Well, I don't think it'll be easy for either Andy Cole or the United players, because what you're doing is you change the system mid-season. If they leave Hughes out and play Cole up front, then you've got to play to players' strengths, and that means getting the ball in front of them. It's difficult for me to see how they could play with Mark Hughes because he has been so successful for Manchester United. I think that they'll have to get the ball forward quickly and in front of Andy Cole if he's going to be successful there. It'll be interesting to see, for example, how Cantona shapes up with Andy Cole. Cantona loves feeding off Mark Hughes. He's not going to be able to feed off Andy Cole in the same way. I think again that if Andy Cole goes in there, he's got to get scoring quickly, because I think it's no goal in 8 Premiership games. His confidence isn't going to be sky high. If he gets in there and scored goals quickly, then it might be all right. My only reservation is that they'd be changing a system that's been ultra successful for them.
Could be the kind of gamble that could cost them the championship.
Well, it could do. I think that if Manchester United got everybody fit and played the way that has been successful for them, they still have a great chance of winning the championship. Now we're going into the unknown, and nobody knows what is going to happen. The only thing certain is that Blackburn will be relentless in the pursuit of the championship, and Manchester United have got all to do. The other thing, of course, is that what you're doing is you're replacing an Englishman for a Welshman, and you're looking forward to the Champions League next season, but you've got to qualify for that competition first, and that will be very much in Alex Ferguson's mind as well.
OK, Alan, thanks very much indeed. We spent long enough on the finance of the game, the high finance. On to the action. Third round of the FA Cup promised plenty of surprises, but delivered only one.
Cross into Durkin. Durkin on the volley. Oh, brilliant goal by Kieran Durkin. And it comes in, and it's an equaliser. Connolly, down he goes, penalty. Gary Bennett has already scored 8 times from the penalty spot this season. Bennett, and it's there. Gary Bennett, what drama indeed here at the racecourse. Newcastle. Oh, hit the post. Carlton Palmer hit the post. Oh, and that is a header by Weatherall. Leeds have equalised.
Low. Good turnover.
Sutton, Shearer, Sutton, surely a goal here. This time it is Chris Sutton. Here's Rob Lee. Good run again, Lee. Oh yes, it'll do. That's a brilliant goal.
With the cross, and the header down and in, and it's Mark Hughes. Can deny possession, waits the chip. Brilliant.
A third round that's left us with plenty of replays to savour, including Birmingham at Liverpool, Blackburn and Newcastle. They're scheduled for Wednesday, when Sports Night will be packed with FA Cup action and news. Also replaying on Wednesday, Notts County at Manchester City. Howard Kendall coming back into the British game as the county manager. Survival in the First Division is his principal challenge.
It's a big one. Well, so I always feel that the next challenge is always the biggest one. I mean, I've been in this position previously. In Manchester City, when I went there, they were down the bottom of the table. I've been with Blackburn when they were in the old third. Managed to turn things around there. Hopefully, this will happen here.
Also featuring in a replay this week, Carlisle and Sunderland. Spurs await the winner. Carlisle have known hard times financially, and in the week in which Manchester United spent £6 million, it's easy to forget there were financial problems at Old Trafford just a few years ago. At that point, enter Michael Knighton, heading a short-lived bid for control. Since then, the entrepreneur has moved on to Carlisle with, as Gerald Sinstadt reports, some very positive effects.
Simon Davies' equaliser at Roker Park. It was the key to a lucrative replay. But more than that, it will help fuel the bold, some might say improbable ambitions Michael Knighton has given Carlisle United. 2 decades ago, the club briefly led the then First Division.
That's useful, and he scored!
It didn't last. Carlisle slid back into the obscurity from which they'd risen. Until, that is, Michael Knighton arrived. Foiled in his bid to become Lord of Old Trafford, he emerged as Laird of Brunton Park, promising paradise tomorrow, or at least the day after. Carlisle were bottom of Division 3, but the new chairman's choice wasn't a frivolous whim.
It required certain ingredients, and one of those important ingredients was potential. It needed to have a good site, it needed to have good motorway links, it needed to be a football area, it needed to be a town obviously hungry for success, and it also needed to be an area which had a semi-monopoly. I didn't want huge competition on my doorstep, and as you've discovered, we haven't got huge competition on our doorstep, so we can be the market leader in our geographical zone.
When Michael Knighton joined Manchester United, he hardly presented himself as the conventional director. But what did he think when the media represented him almost as a joke figure?
Well, that is your interpretation, and I think you found it very difficult to wrestle with the fact that here was a chairman, not Crombie-clad, not cigar smoking, not champagne drinking and Rolls-Royce driving, but a man who actually gets out on the field, juggles a few footballs in the air. You look at the people's faces behind that goal. They were smiling, they were being entertained, and they were tickled by the intrigue. That is the message that was intended. That is certainly, it was a genuine, spontaneous act from one football fan to my colleagues on the terraces.
When a new door opened at Carlisle, Michael Knighton walked into a very different world. Everything needed rebuilding: the administration, the team, the stadium.
My job is to build this city a stadium, and I don't believe that it is overly ambitious. This is very much a football area, the whole of Cumbria. They had a taste of honey in 1974. They need to taste honey again. They deserve it. They're very hungry for it, and we will achieve it.
How much of this is your own money?
Too much, perhaps, my wife tells me. But the merchandising side, the catering side, as you can see with this new restaurant, every type of revenue vehicle has been brought to this football club, and we still haven't scratched the surface.
The football that Carlisle have been playing has brought them attention in the Cup and carried them 12 points clear in the 3rd Division. The first signs of progress towards fulfilling Knighton's prediction of a place in Europe within 10 years.
The spirit in the club is brilliant, and everything is going right. In football, as you know, it can change within 3 weeks. I don't think it will, because we've worked too hard in putting the foundation stones in place. We haven't built on sand. We've taken our time. We said 3 years in this division and then promotion. We've built on concrete. In fact, we've built on absolute solid steel. Not straight out of a blast furnace, but good, tempered steel. We're ready for it.
Among the foundations put down on the playing side was the appointment of the well-qualified but little-known Nick Wadsworth, not as manager, but as director of coaching.
The chairman really wanted to set up what he would call a continental model, and I agree with that wholeheartedly. That all financial issues land on his desk. Obviously, we discuss everything in terms of acquisition of players contracts and so on, but he looks after all the contractual side, and I'm more than happy with that. I like to coach and like to work with the players and manage the players on a day-to-day basis.
Michael Knighton's got this sort of persona that, you know, he is a bit of a dreamer. You know, he dreamt about taking over Man U, etc., etc. But people don't realise how much hard work he puts into it. And I don't think they realise how much hard work has gone into the coaching side. People from, as you say, from London might look and might actually say, well, might it happen, might it not happen? Is he dreaming again? We don't feel he's dreaming at all. We think we can make it work.
So it seems does the city. For the last 3 months, the local museum has been staging a football exhibition upon which the image of Michael Knighton smiles down benignly. Super salesman, super optimist, and quite undaunted by being remembered as the Old Trafford ball juggler.
I would do it tomorrow, and I promise you, I make this pledge. When we will play Manchester United in a cup final, as we inevitably will one day, or let's say even a 5th round cup game, Michael Knighton will go out and do precisely the same. Because frankly, I don't give a fig what journalists think about my motives or notions. This game is about putting smiles back on people's faces, and it is entertainment. Let's not take ourselves too seriously. It's a bowl of trivia in the end. An important bowl, but you know it's a game, and that's all it is.
Enjoys the game, doesn't he? Carlisle, 12 points clear of Division 3, home to Preston today. Top match in the FA Carling Premiership features the leaders Blackburn against 4th place Nottingham Forest, who soldier on without midfield man David Batty, whose foot injury has kept him out since last April. At Ewood Park, he's now talking live with John Motton.
Yes, thanks very much, Steve. Well, David, it has been a long time, hasn't it, since that injury against Aston Villa? As Steve said, it was April. What's the latest news?
Latest is that I had my plaster off on Wednesday, and it's just a matter of getting my foot going. You know, my ankle's a bit stiff and my foot generally is a bit sore. But I'm just looking forward to getting back running now.
So what's the immediate programme for you?
Well, as I say, I've just had plaster off, so I've just been getting my foot going coming Monday and get down to some hard work, hopefully.
Any idea at all when you might realistically be playing?
Well, I think it's sometimes a bit dangerous, you know, to set yourself targets, especially after being out 9 months, you know. So I'm looking forward to getting running, getting plenty of fitness because I haven't done it for 9 months, and take it from there.
How frustrating has it been for you being out for so long and having to watch, or perhaps you prefer not to watch, the other players playing?
Well, you're right. I mean, I'm not the best of watchers anyway, even when I'm fit or been suspended watching, you know, so some games aren't bother coming to, you know, I find it frustrating.
But you must be pretty pleased with the form Blackburn Rovers have shown in your absence.
Well, that's it. I mean, this season we're doing a lot better at this stage than we were last, so if we can keep it up, you know, there's a good chance of a bit of success coming this way.
I was going to say, people have made it into a two-horse race. Perhaps that's not quite fair on the others, but Manchester United really seem to mean business now with this signing of Andy Cole. I mean, £7 million. It's put even Chris Sutton's fee and your fee in the shade.
Well, I think I'm well below that, but, you know, it just shows you how transfer fees have spiralled. But, you know, it's up to the lad to prove he's worth it. Chris has here, and, you know, good luck to him.
Yes, because really, Shearer and Sutton haven't let the fee get to them at all, have they?
Well, they both worked well, you know, they complement each other, and that vital thing that all strikers need, they can both finish.
Today's match, Blackburn-Nottingham Forest, a chance perhaps for Colin Moore to compare himself against those two.
Yeah, well, it's a lad I certainly rate. You know, he's big and strong, he's quick. You know, goal he scored against Plymouth last week in FA Cup, you know, the sheer power that he showed there. You know, so, you know, he is a force to be reckoned with, and we'll have to watch out for him today.
Is Shearer still the best of the lot?
I think so, yeah, along with Sutter. You know, they are a deadly strike force.
Well, I'll tell you what, 15 England caps you won before this career interrupted by injury. It's a long way off, obviously, getting back in the England team, but I guess you'll just be pleased to be playing again, won't you?
Yeah, I've always said that it's been a bonus to play for England, and especially now, so the team doing so well, I'm going to have a job getting back in the team, so, you know, if I can get back in the team, get a few games, who knows.
Well, I wish you well, David, and thanks for joining us live on Grandstand. Let's go back to Steve.
Blackburn's David Batty, Blackburn against Forest this afternoon. Also in the Premiership, congratulations to Jerry Francis, who's been named Carling Manager of the Month for December. That after just 46 days in charge at Tottenham. And Spurs could set a new club record of 7 consecutive clean sheets if they come away from West Ham with no goals against this afternoon. The man most likely to spoil the record is Tony COTTEE, back at Upton Park and back on form. So today he faces Tottenham, but yesterday he faced Clive Tilsley.
Against which team did you score a late winner on your Upton Park return in September?
Aston Villa.
Against which team did you score a hat-trick last month?
Manchester City.
How many West Ham goals have you scored this season?
9.
In 5 full seasons with West Ham, how many times have you been their leading goal scorer?
4 times.
How many League and Cup goals have you scored for West Ham in total?
127.
Only 2 West Ham players have scored more post-war goals. Name them.
John Dick and Jeff Hurst.
Now Pike, got out through the middle, came off O'Leary, and here's COTTEE! A goal for West Ham by Tony COTTEE.
Most goal scorers can't tell you whether they scored last week, let alone last year. Tony COTTEE can give you chapter and verse on every one of his 236 goals. He's an avid collector of goals, 7 in his last 6 games. It's the kind of strike rate that football managers will always pay good money for.
I've just got that goal scorer's instinct, you know. It's something that I think that is very special. You know, all the great goal scorers have it, Fowlers, Rush and all the people, Shearers. I don't know, the ball drops in, they always seem to be on the spot. They, you know, anticipation, just knowing where the ball's going to be at that particular right time, and they arrive there and they stick it away.
What's the single most important thing in the actual taking of a chance?
I think composure, really. Although I think that the most important thing in the first place is to have confidence in your own ability. You have to be a little bit greedy at times, and quite obviously the more shots you have, the more chance you've got of scoring. So.
You're pretty cold and clinical about the business of goal scoring, aren't you?
You have to be, Clive, yeah. I mean, it's a very cutthroat profession, and it's very difficult to be at the top of your profession for, 12 years, you know, if you're not like that. That type of person. So I've tried to be clinical, and I try and be precise in my finishing. Sometimes I think I'm too precise, but I think my goals record stands up well against most people.
Nice one, Tony, please.
You signed for Everton in August 1988 in a British record transfer. What was the fee?
The official fee was £2,050,000.
How many goals did you score in your Everton debut?
3 goals against Newcastle.
How many goals did you score in your Everton career?
99 altogether.
In 6 seasons at Everton, how many times were you leading goal scorer?
5 times, and the other time Peter Beardsley beat me to it.
In 6 seasons at Everton, how many trophies did you win?
Absolutely none.
You can smile about that, but I suppose that will always be a little bit of a question mark about that phase in your career.
Yeah, I mean, that's a real disappointment for me, because I signed for Everton first and foremost to help them to continue winning trophies, because they'd had a real glory spell. For whatever reasons, I never really played to Everton's strengths totally, and they never really played to my strengths. So I don't think we totally gelled. I think there were periods where things were going very well for me and for the club, but it was never consistent.
Sort of the right place at the wrong time, really, wasn't it?
Yeah, that's probably a good way to sum up my Everton career, yeah. But I thoroughly enjoyed it, and I wouldn't change it for the world.
It was a time of change at Everton after a time of plenty. Tony had 13 different striking partners there in the space of 6 years. He kept scoring, but Everton stopped winning. And so last September, he came home to the club at which it had all started for him.
It looks as though it's going in for Tony COTTEE!
When Focus last visited Tony COTTEE in 1986, he was in lethal partnership with Frank McAvenny and in the England squad. An East End boy making good with his local club and keeping his own notes along the way.
One book, which is the goals I've scored for West Ham. I just keep pictures and put all the details down.
And you write your own account there of each goal, I've noticed. Can you just explain that to me?
That's right, yeah. I just put the date and who we played, who scored the goals, the attendance, and then I just put a little description of how the goal come about, and then I'll get the local paper and cut the picture out.
9 years on, the scrapbook, would you believe, is still going strong. And so on last Saturday's evidence is the mastermind behind it.
COTTEE, yes! Tony COTTEE in hot goal-scoring form against West Ham United, the league.
How many league goals have you scored for West Ham?
99.
Against which club did you make a scoring debut for West Ham on New Year's Day 1983?
Against Tottenham.
Against which club did you score your 100th career league goal?
Tottenham.
Against which club that hasn't conceded a goal in 6 games are you playing this weekend?
Tottenham.
Do you believe in fate?
Well, I hope so, yeah. I mean, it'd be wonderful if I could get my 100th league goal against Spurs, but I'm not overly worried about it. If we win the game, that'll do for me, and the 100th league goal will come. But if it's against Spurs, I'll be more than pleased.
Tony COTTEE, you've scored 236 goals and no passes. Never pass.
Sometimes.
We'll spare him the general knowledge, although I'm sure he'd be pretty good at that as well. Match of the day tonight features West Ham and Spurs, as well as Blackburn and Forest. BBC One tonight at 10:50. Arguably, football's biggest surprise of the week came not at St James's Park, but in Barcelona. Romario quitting the club to return to Brazil, and the trigger for that was Barcelona's most embarrassing defeat for years. 5-0 at their old rivals, Real Madrid.
A month ago, Real Madrid didn't have a friend amongst the 107,000 in the Bernabeu Stadium. Defeat against a team of Danish part-timers had put them out of Europe. Victory against Barcelona last Saturday put them into the record books. Number 9, Ivan Zamorano, scored a hat-trick before half-time. At the start of the season, the Chilean striker had been told he had no future in Madrid. Now he's the leading goal-scorer in the Spanish league. A year ago, Romario had bagged a Barcelona hat-trick in a 5-goal thrashing of Real. Zamorano's reverse performance made it 17 goals in 16 games this season for him. As his fellow South American ran amok, Romario made a brief farewell appearance from the subs bench ahead of a midweek transfer back to Brazil. Number 8, Hristo Stoichkov, the new European Footballer of the Year, was sent off. Coach Johan Cruyff is threatening a Barcelona clear-out, although he's been rewarded with a 1-year extension to his contract this week. Real Madrid's reward, a 5-point lead at the top of the Spanish league that they haven't won since 1990. Luis Enrique and Alavisca scored the second-half goals, which completed a 5-0 triumph, their biggest win over their bitter rivals for 41 years.
Barcelona with their problems, and if they're tempted to send once again for Gary Lineker, we should point out that from now on he'll be spending his Saturdays in this studio. His playing travels are over, and Gary will now be a regular face on BBC Sport in general and Football Focus in particular.
You got a smile so bright, you know you could have been a candle. I'm holding you so tight, you know you could have been a hand.